Hello, it's Friday, December 27th, 2024. I'm Jason Shapiro, crowdedmarketreport.com. So let's see if we can make sense of today or this week. We get to make a video on Friday today since there's no COT coming out because of the holiday. That will come out on Monday, at which time we will do both our COT review, which we usually do on Friday night, and our sort of upcoming week preview, which we usually do on Sunday night. We'll do them both on Monday night after the COT comes out. So anyway, back to the game here. Interesting day today. You know, stocks came out of the gate pretty weak and got pretty damn weak at one point, and then, rebounded. They still ended up down. S&P was down, 66 points. That's not a small amount. But these are sort of within the ranges of where we've been lately. I personally thought the interesting thing that I wanted to point out was this. It's better to see it on this chart. But this is the NASDAQ futures. This is where the Fed made their big announcement last Wednesday. And this is where the first trading was done on that announcement. And my thought at the time was people were going to sell that announcement. I actually said it the day before in my video. And I thought it would rebound right back up. It didn't rebound right back up. I thought it would either be that day or the next day. It did try the next day, but it kind of failed. But it took 4 days or 5 days. But we got right back to that level. In fact, we got above it. In other words, everyone who sold that easy news to sell post-Fed at some point was out of the money here. And once that happened, then the markets, sort of continued down. And we had the same thing on the S&P, right? This is where the first sale was. And the S&P was above it by yesterday. And then we sort of sold off. And the same thing, not surprisingly, on the Dow, which the first sale was here. We got above it yesterday. And we didn't get even close to it on the Russell, because the Russell, we know, is just the dog of dogs, and it just lags everything pretty much all the time. But I thought that was interesting. I think the other thing that's been on my mind lately about all this is this idea. This is the semiconductor ETF, right? The SMH. We're here, okay? This thing was here, same spot. May 28th. We're now December 27th. June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That's 7 months. The SMH is where all the action was the first half of the year. It's where all the excitement was. It's where all the earnings growth was. It was where everything was. And we are now in the same place we were 7 months later. And there's been plenty of other markets that have done that too. Here's Bitcoin, right? This was Bitcoin on March 12th. This was Bitcoin on November 6th, right? Again, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 8 months of nothing. And I guess my point here is that markets can do that, and not just some lame market. You're talking about the SMH, which was the center of the world in the first half of this year, and Bitcoin, which is always the center of the world. Nothing for 7-8 months. And my point here is you might want to think about what you're going to do about your trading and all that, if that ends up being the case in these stock indices, right? In the major stock indices, because it's a very hard place to be trading around. And there's you get these false breakouts and these false breakdowns, and it just becomes a whip fest. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm saying prepare yourself for the possibility that this could happen, because it does feel to me like on the one side we have arguably real bullish fundamentals with the new administration coming in, pro-growth, lower taxes, all that. But we also have sort of extended sentiment on top of that. So it's a possibility that we have one of these 6, 7, 8 month periods where really it just rolls around and does nothing, and it's very difficult to make money in those things. In particular, if you're a momentum trader, which is what most people are. But even as a counter-trend trader, there's nothing to counter-trend, so there's nothing to do. So something to think about and maybe prepare yourself for. And to me, how do you prepare yourself for it? Look at other assets, right? Maybe they'll move. The dollar is getting pretty interesting here, right? Maybe you think fixed income is getting interesting here. Maybe you think the metals or the energy, whatever. There are other assets in the world to trade, and they all trade the same. There's too many people selling, it goes up. There's too many people buying, it goes down. Like, it all works kind of the same. But just something to think about there. As for the rest of all this stuff, let's go right through it. The energies had a pretty good day today. Although, look, they're going nowhere, right? Crude oil had a nice day today, but net, still nowhere. Heating oil had a nice day today, net, nowhere. Natural gas started off real well today, and then sort of failed. And then in the end, came back. So just kind of doing its thing, right? I've been in this market now for a while, and I've been watching very closely, and it's a toughie, I would say, to trade around. I'm long, that's my position. I will get out when my stuff says to get out. Until then, I'm long, and I just suffer through the volatility that comes with it. But so far, it's been fine. And then, the bonds, look. Bonds closed on lows, right? 10 years, closed on lows. 5 years, closed on lows. 2 years, closed on lows. These things are on new lows. Bonds are on a new low close here. Everyone keeps talking about they want to buy the TLT and this and that, but this thing just keeps going down. And with that, we're supposed to get dollar strength. But we really didn't. We did for a little bit. Dollar was up early in the day, then it kind of failed. The one I keep having my eye on the most is the Canadian dollar, which as the dollar was stronger got weak and then sort of popped back. It doesn't really seem to want to follow through to the downside here, which we kind of know why it's difficult for it to fall through for the downside, which of course is because people are very, very short here. So what's going to get more people to short it? You already have a huge amount of short. So it's going to be tough for it to follow through the downside, but it is sitting on lows. I haven't seen any kind of big news failure or big kind of market confirmation for me to get long at this point, but I think the next chance really is the non-farm payrolls report, because we get an employment report from the U.S. and Canada on the same day. And if we can get like a stronger number in the U.S. and a weaker number in Canada, that should be very bearish Canada. And if it's not, that's probably where I will try and take a shot at long Canada. But I thought it was interesting that the dollar didn't really go up today. Well, it didn't go up today at all by the close, despite the fact that U.S. rates were going up and bonds closed at lows. It's, maybe the dollar's getting a little tired here. I don't know. Maybe it's just a fake out, again, I won't do anything about any of it until I get some kind of confirmation. But also interesting on that note is the fact that we had stocks down, bonds down, dollar down. And I always have my eye out for that, because if you've seen some of my past videos, that's my big sign that the world is in fact ending. When we get to the point where the U.S. debt is too large to service, the markets will let us know first. And they will let us know by dollar going down, bonds going down, and stocks going down. Doesn't mean every time that happens that's the end of the world trade, right? But it's something that I continually watch for, because that will happen when, it's one of those things. It will happen when the shit's going to go down, but every time it happens doesn't mean that it's going to go down. But definitely something to keep an eye on, and that I thought was interesting today. We don't see that a lot, but we definitely saw it today. All right. And the metals were kind of weak today too, which is not abnormal with bonds being up so much. Silver was pretty bad. Gold wasn't terrible, but down, but came back a little bit. If we take a look, silver really, all the things that kind of were good the last few days, were bad today. And all the things that were kind of bad the last few days were good today, which shows you the kind of market I think we're in, right? It's very difficult to catch a trend. It's very difficult for the market to get anywhere. And that's why I warn about the possibility of having like a long period of time where this goes on, because it just feels to me like there's so much two-sidedness here between sentiment and momentum. And it just feels like they're so two-sided here that we could see a lot of whipping around for a while here. It's just kind of how it feels. All right, so that's my thoughts today. I hope that helps. Please, as always, like the video. If you liked it, please, questions and comments, always welcome. Please check us out, crowdedmarketreport.com, free Substack, free YouTube videos. We're on Twitter, yada, yada. And I hope everybody has a good weekend, and we will talk again next week. Thank you, and have a pleasant tomorrow.